Hi, this is Gary Michael Garzarek here with the ecology review for concept 6 using Space Invaders. So in order to start the game, you obviously click the start button. It shows you also the value of each of the sprites. To play the game, you use the direction pad on your keyboard and the space bar to fire your laser. When you lose a sprite, you're then asked to answer a question. Each time you lose a sprite, you will end up having to answer more questions until the amount of questions are done, or until you miss one. So the first question is, what does evaporation do to moisture? We know that evaporation decreases moisture, so now I have an extra life. I keep playing. I lost another life. So now I have to answer 2 questions. What does temperature do as you get closer to the equator? Temperatures get higher. What are the major producers in terrestrial biomes? They are plants. So I get another life. My score increases. I lose another sprite. I now have to answer 3 more questions. So how are major temperature zones determined? We know that they are determined by latitude. Next question, what influences global patterns of precipitation? We know that they are major air currents. Now, the last question, what determines a biome? There are a lot of things that determine a biome, but we know the primary things are climate and biodiversity. For the sake of this example, I'm going to show you what happens when you get one wrong. So I'm going to click major air currents, and it will go ahead and tell me not only the correct answer, but it'll also give me the final score and provide a section for me to provide a name for the leaderboard. So if I was to provide my name, type it in, hit OK. And in the case, since I didn't put anything, it will just say anonymous and gives you the option to look at your high score. Now, the high scores, I can see them. And also, the options that are given to you after this are to play a different game and to play again. So if I was to play again, and I click this and play again, it doesn't start you off at 0 again. It starts you off back in the same number of questions you have to answer. So you can't go through and assume that every time you enter in a score, you're going to get less work. It continues to build because it saves. So as you go through, the difference between climate and weather, we know is amount of time. What mainly determines climate, temperature and precipitation. What happens to biodiversity as you get closer to the equator? We know that it increases, but for some reason I'm going to say plants. And again, we see the end screen and it tells us what we have to do. And this time, since I didn't get a high score, it immediately sends me back to the main page.